Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ian is a Weirdo. I know this is a different time for me to go live. I guess there have been a lot of things on my mind lately that I wanted to hopefully get some advice for and see if anyone else had any experience with. Also, wanted to share a little bit more about my mental health because we talked about it the other day, but I didn't really give I don't know if there was context to it because I feel like I've talked about a lot of these things so many times. I'm just but also in the process of looking for a service dog, emotional support animal type thing. It's like, well, what do I really need? And getting to a point where I feel like I can ask for those things and knowing what I need are pretty challenging for me because, the truth of the matter is that in the United States, getting an emotional support animal is absurdly easy. Absurdly, anything basically could be an emotional support animal. And for some people, they really do use that animal as an emotional support in their healing system. And for some people, it's a way to get out of um, certain rules around housing and stuff like that, or bring untrained animals into places that they shouldn't be. And as a highly extreme advocate for service animals, not to be confused with emotional support animals, although I probably will mix them up when I say them. Service animals are highly trained, um, and they are unfortunately very expensive unless you go the unless you can get in on a list for a uh, an organization that does voluntary kind of like donates service animals and trains them and stuff. So let me step back in time a little bit. So my dog Riker, we got him in March of 2020. I really wanted a service dog. Now, we were recommended to get a dog that had specific breeding for a service animal, not a support animal. And it was already going to be so expensive. I was like, I really don't see how breeding is going to make a difference. I've never had a bred dog. So I was like, nah, we're not going to do that. So we get Riker from, and he already been in this program. I think it was called A New Leash on Life, where he, hi, welcome in, where he was working with, in a program with people who were in prison, and basically they would teach the dogs skills. There's a test called the Canine Good Citizenship Test, where they have to pass 10 things, and it would allow the prisoners to get experience training dogs, and so it would be on the job training for them to go out into the real world and do dog training or start dog training, get their foot in the door. So it was really helpful for both the dogs and for the people who were training them. So that's where I got Riker, and we got him March of 2020. You might recall a certain thing happening in 2020 that was pretty catastrophic to the world. So Riker was boarded for I think 6 weeks or so, and he did great. He was amazing in the program. And then the next part was he was going to spend about 6 weeks with us, and we were going to kind of work with him and build a connection, because the connection between you and the animal is really highly important. But it's also about how you and the animal interact with the rest of the world, right? Because the thing is, and this is why when you see things like vests, like dogs and vests that say service dogs in training, they need that training because they need to learn how to navigate the world with the human that they're guiding, right? So the problem with having a service dog that you want to socialize at that point was that there was no socialization because there was social distancing. Even dogs, like we didn't at that point didn't know if dogs could transmit the coronavirus, and so it was just like there was no socialization, and so every like he was fine with dogs and went to his good boy camp, and then he just was a mess around dogs after the 6 weeks we had him. And then we did a follow-up with the trainer, and she was basically like, I mean, honestly, kind of like pretty piss poor attitude if you ask me, but like she was like, well, the dog's anxious because you're anxious, and like, what the fuck do you need? What the fuck do you think I need a psychiatric service dog for? You think I'm like getting the service dog and paying all this money for fun? I paid all that money out of pocket, which now I don't have a service dog, and I don't have, and I don't have that money, so I didn't do this for like fun. I actually need a service dog. But so I'm in a kind of a difficult situation right now. So Reger is older. He's not that old. He's 4, but 4.5. But like, um, so like the thing about service dogs is because they are an investment, and I know this is kind of sad to think about when you think about like them being an animal, them being like a pet, but they're also like a coworker, or like if you are a company, they are an employee that you put investment into. And so it's like putting a lot of investment into an employee knowing that they're going to leave the company as soon as you train them. It's not the prettiest picture to portray, but because you put so much work into it, you want to get as much ideally like lifespan with that animal as you can. There's some blinking on the side of the thing, and it's really just like bugging the shit out of me. Excuse me, sorry, I'm not feeling well today. I'm skipping my main part of my therapy. So I I so now it's like, well, I have different needs now from a service dog than I did even then. Where like I think my main things are my panic attacks and catatonic episodes in public. And I don't really talk about being catatonic that much because this has been a pretty controversial diagnosis for me. Basically, I've only talked to, I guess I have my new psychiatrist now, like as of like last week. But so my current psychiatrist is like, you can't be catatonic. Like that's just not even like, just like was like, you don't have catatonia. And I was like, okay, well, like, okay. Which is like, it's fine. Sometimes you think you have a diagnosis, your doctor is like, I don't know, I disagree. But this was kind of like a real big shutdown, and it was very odd. And I was like, okay, it was, well, like, what is happening to my body? My body doesn't feel great. Um, because, so being catatonic or catatonia is not talked about very frequently because it's not a very common um, disorder or side effect, I guess, of other disorders. I think just like the prevalence rate is pretty low in America. I'm not really sure about the stats in um, other countries, but it's relatively low, and it can be caused by multiple interactions of different mood disorders and uh, schizoaffective disorders, panic disorders, just you name it. It can be just the culmination of like other things. And so for me, primarily, my catatonic episodes have happened when I'm in a state of extreme panic and overwhelm. I can and do have panic attacks without being catatonic. That's that's been something probably since my concussion that happened. I think that I would get like sensory overload quite a bit before my concussion, but after my concussion, like it just turned into something entirely different. And I really just think that my concussion totally wrecked my brain. But right now, I kind of need an animal that can like that can like press like buttons or call for help or something that can get me the appropriate level of care that I need. Like if I catch a catatonic episode early enough, like and so usually with catatonia, I like I feel myself going down. Like I feel my body just being. It's like 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 a vampire. It's just like sucking the life out of me. I feel my body just kind of like it becomes very heavy. It's like my veins are starting to fill with cement. I know I usually have about 3 minutes before I'm just like down and out. So I can like get to a like safe ish place usually, and I that's good. Now with my like nonverbal side, so like this is the thing, and I think this is why I confuse my doctors, because like I was talking about being nonverbal and then I was talking about being catatonic, and being nonverbal is actually really has not very much overlap with being catatonic. When you're catatonic, you can't talk, but it doesn't necessarily like one doesn't mean the other. So you can be nonverbal and not be catatonic, which happens to me more frequently than being catatonic. Um, and it is when you are catatonic, your your body is like shut down. Like you could not move your muscle. If you were on the train tracks, the train's coming, you can't move. Like you are stuck. You are like it's just like it's not happening. You could try your best to get up, but it's not happening. But your brain is going the whole time. I've heard different people describe it, but for me, because mine is a, a huge anxiety response, my brain is in this anxiety mode. And so it makes a huge difference about the people around me and how they're reacting. If they're freaking out, then I start to panic even more because I'm like, please calm down, please calm down. Like, I just want to get out of this. So the people around me are freaking out. It could take a 20-minute episode into like a 5-hour episode. And so it takes me a while to get out of that. I do have some skills that can help me get out of that place, but um, not as many as I would like. So I'm trying to see like could I train like a service, sorry, a um, could I train like a support animal and have that be my animal. It's really hard to train animals, especially when you are mentally ill, because like you want to train them right, but then you're also dealing with the things that they're going to have to help you with. So it's a lot of patience to train a dog, and when you're already struggling with your mental health, it's really really difficult. So there's that. And they have to be really well behaved to be service animals. You cannot have like my dog, like my I love my dog Riker. He's the sweetest boy, but he has a terrible temperament on leash, and I could not like masquerade him around as a service animal because he doesn't interact with other dogs well. True service animal is not even gonna notice other dogs. Not even gonna notice them. It's gonna look around and it's gonna that dog's priority is keeping me safe, keeping me alive, helping me function. That's what a service dog is. Emotional support animal, they're just free reign. They don't. They can literally. All you need is a doctor's note, and a lot of doctors will write you a note because, like, there's like just really anything that you could use a support animal for. Like, you're lonely at night, you need a teddy bear. Like, you probably get a support animal for that. Not for a bear, but for just like any other cuddly animal. Um, and I really don't want to like diss people who use support animals in the way that like they're intended. But there are so many people who abuse the system. And then service animals are prohibitively expensive, or getting a free like animal donated to you is extremely difficult. Like, I just applied to this place in Wilmington. I got turned down, even though I think I'm a really good applicant because am in a place right now where it's like I could be really unsafe if I didn't have an animal supporting me. And like I get to a point where like I can't ask for help, I can't call for help, I can't move. What happens then? Like, what happens if that is a long episode and I'm panicking and I can't call for help? Um, and so, I have to think about these things. It's not all I think about, but it's good to be prepared. And so I could get a service animal, and that's like a $30 certificate online. Basically means nothing. You need a doctor's note and you need this $30 piece of paper. Service animals, I mean, you're looking in like the $8,000 to $16,000 range. Like, that's a jump, right? But these dogs are super well trained. So the only in the United States, the only animals, to my knowledge, the only animals that can be service animals are dogs and like mini horses. And I'll be damned if I have a mini horse. I'm not a big horse fan. I do not like horses. But yeah, so I kind of am in this position where I don't really know what to do because my dog currently doesn't do well with other dogs, but I need a dog who can be trained to give me that support, and I don't really know how I can have the best of both worlds, if you will, where I get to have my dog and then find another dog somehow, have them be well behaved enough, and then somehow train them myself to be able to contact all of my necessary like emergency medical contacts. Seems like a lot, and I'm not really into that. So, um, I know I have a lot of new people on my page that are not really super familiar with like kind of like my mental health history. So I'll just kind of try to give it as brief as possible. And it's really convoluted. This has always been something that I've struggled with. I know a lot of people struggle with mental health, and so when I talk about my own experience, I never want to invalidate other people and their experience, but just kind of just to tell my own story, and to help people who might be out there who are living a similar, um, type of life. So I was always very emotional growing up. I was always jumping from project to project, always had a lot of energy, but I was always very moody as well. And then puberty number one hit, and Actually, even before that, just I'm going to try to put some blanket trigger warnings um, and please listen to these warnings if these are not things that you're comfortable with listening to. I'd really rather you be safe than listen to something that may like not be a good spot for you. Like SI, self harm, like suicidal ideation, suicidal attempts, mental health problems in general, brain trauma, um, emotional abuse, emotional neglect, um, probably some other stuff that'll come up, but I'll try to give you a heads up. So I always had these like emotional regulation issues. And so when I was 12, I attempted, um, and I remember every detail of that situation, which is pretty, it's like when I talk to people who are not very mentally ill and I tell them that I was 12, it's like very shocking to them. And then when I talk to other people who are very, very mentally ill, like myself, it's like we all are around the same age when we start to have like our first like time trying, which is really sad because that is an age where nobody is really looking at their kid going, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe people are looking at their kids at that time and going, what is the mental health status of my child? My parents definitely weren't. They didn't know what to look for. So, having kids who just didn't have a way to describe the way that they were feeling because these feelings were so intense. And a lot of them were kind of written off as just normal teenage emotions or like preteen emotions when really like they were like signs of heavy mental illness going into it. Even if it was just puberty, it still probably could have been observed by a professional, but hindsight's 2020, right? So, first puberty, I'm having all of this self harm, suicidal ideation. I remember the first time I got admitted to the hospital, like an inpatient hospital. I had actually gone to like a school counselor with my friend. My friend wanted to go because she was feeling a lot of SI, and so I went to support her. And so she's telling the school counselor what's going on. The school counselor turns to me and is like, "Well, why are you here?" And I was like, "I'm just here to support my friend." And he was like, "Tell me a little bit more about yourself." And just trying to like see like why the fuck I was just like sitting there. And so he was like, we got to talking and he realized I was super depressed. And he was like, when was the last time you were suicidal? And I was like, well, last night. And I was the one who took my friend to go to the school counselor, and I was the one who ended up in the hospital. So I got diagnosed with bipolar and borderline and anxiety disorder in the hospital. Was there for about a week, and then about a week later, a month later, I got in to see a psychiatrist who I didn't like at first, and then I did grow to really like. And he did a lot of like psychological testing, or had psychological testing done. We got a few more diagnoses added to the list. Recommended some different medications, started me on certain medications that are pretty hard on your body, but most medications in the mood stabilizer and antipsychotic class are. I don't think I started any Seroquel at the time. Seroquel is an antipsychotic. Just so you know, so some drug classes overlap, and antipsychotic doesn't necessarily mean, actually, usually does not mean that you are a psycho or whatever. It doesn't mean that you experience psychosis. It's just the part of the brain and how it works. So typically, when you experience things like mania, they will prescribe things like antipsychotics because they work really well on the part of the brain that functions, that overfunctions when you're in mania. Now, some people with, there's actually so many different conditions that will have psychotic features. So you can have bipolar with or without psychotic features, borderline with or without psychotic features, depression with or without psychotic features. So all of those things, like those, are things that they keep on board. Also, typically, um, antipsychotics are overlapping with the anticonvulsant categories, so they are also usually like anti-seizure or epilepsy medications. Um, for anyone who cares, but some people do experience both, so interesting to know. Um, so I uh, so I got diagnosed. I was on medication for a while. I still wasn't doing well my first year of high school. I was um, just pretty much like missing my medicine all the time. Wasn't sleeping. I recognize now that I had a lot more manic episodes than I realized before. And, because like I think that there is this perception that like mania and manic episodes always look like someone's having a fun time, someone's like really just like nice to be around, like they're fun, like they're uninhibited and fun, and like no, no. Some people are, and some people are actual monsters. Like me, like I am a tornado. Like, get out of my way, get out of my path. I have no time for like your small shit. I've got big plans. Anyone who slows me down, I lose my shit. I'm so mean. My temper is so short. I am destructive, like physically, mentally, emotionally destructive. I'm gonna destroy everything. And so, like, all of these things I didn't realize were signs of mania till I was much older, much more recent, um, I had going on. And so I didn't quite realize. So I got misdiagnosed within the bipolar category, where they put me under bipolar 2, which is one that doesn't experience mania. Mania, under the classification that moves you from bipolar 2 to bipolar 1, is you have to be manic for at least 7 days. Boy, howdy, did I meet that uh, designation. However, I did not know that I was manic because I thought that I was just like this rage filled monster person. So, um, so I didn't really get much on the antipsychotic train. When I and my other diagnoses were really, really starting to pop up and really starting to be prevalent as I went into adulthood and things like that. And so when I was 18, I was really, really depressed. I was so, I was so depressed. And so they check your blood levels and they say, okay, well, we think you can up this level because you'll still be within this range, right? And so I went up on my medication, and within like 5 days or so, I ended up with toxicity from having too much medicine in my system. This medication took about 5 days to level out in your bloodstream. And so I remember going to the doctor and thinking, the ER, and thinking that I was going to die, like legitimately, just going to just die there. And so I stopped taking medicine for a while. Then I got into, I can't remember if it was right before my relationship with Mel or uh, right into it, but I started going back to a psychiatrist. I didn't like this one because I kept telling her that the medicine wasn't kicking, and she didn't believe me, which like I know everyone has a different perception, and that should be taken into account for sure. However, I don't know how many times I can tell you over 4 months that this medicine was not doing anything before you'll listen to me. So I left that psychiatrist, didn't see a psychiatrist for a while, and then when I had health insurance again, went back and saw another psychiatrist and started this journey that I've been on for several years before my concussion. Now, we got to a pretty good level. I would say that I was relatively stable. I still needed a lot of therapy because what got unveiled in a lot of those later years, I guess, of treatment was that because I was like, I don't feel like therapy does anything. And it was because like I had all this trauma that we had never, ever, ever talked about. Like being told that you have PTSD when you don't even know like what your trauma is like like it's wild. It is a crazy feeling. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Like someone having to tell you that that was traumatic and not everyone experiences something like that is kind of mind melting. So for me, like it was the combination of medication, therapy, and like psychotherapy. And that helped quite a bit, but I still had so much to unpack. I still had so much to learn. I still do. Then I got my concussion and everything changed. 2019 just like upended my life. I've been on different medications since. My symptoms have gotten a lot worse. I would say that like there was definitely no need for a service dog or anything like that before. I definitely wouldn't have qualified or been eligible for disability before my bipolar was managed. I could function as a normal member of society, and then I got this concussion and like booped my head and like bam, like everything just fucking changed. And and so now I'm in need of like additional assistance where I need a service dog or I need a dog that can function and and do these tasks for me, including like helping me um, including like being able to call like emergency services on me if I need that. And like I don't really know how to get that. Hi Nifty, welcome in. So it's like, well, I can't seem to find any of these volunteer organizations that will help me. Like the volunteer organization that I applied for, I got a letter back immediately, which is nice that I didn't have to wait, but they didn't have any space. They're very limited due to funds, which I understand. It's very expensive training service dogs, but I didn't make it in right away, which is fine. In theory. But like I've got to wait at least 6 months before I can apply again. Um, and an emotional support animal I can get, and that's very inexpensive in theory, but can an emotional support animal offer me the services that I need? I don't know. And then I also don't know if I can train it. I don't know if I can, I don't know, like get someone to help me train it. I, you know, but I'm in this position where I need the support of something to help me reach out to emergency services if I need it, and I don't have that right now. And then I have the issue of having another dog who doesn't really get along with other larger dogs, and I need a larger dog. I can't have a chihuahua like dragging me from I need a dog that can kind of like drag me out of like harmful situations. Like if I have a panic attack and I fall and I like go to the ground and I'm in the middle of the street, I need a dog that can pull me out of the street. Like I need a big dog. So I can't do like a fucking corgi. Like I can't do a service corgi. Um so Yeah. So I'm really looking for um, animals, like some kind of way to get that support, because it is kind of a dangerous matter and a dangerous thing to play with. So, yeah. So that's kind of like a little bit of a like if you haven't like been around a while. Hey, Lydia. If you haven't been around a while and you don't really know kind of what I've been through in my story, and you can rewatch for all the details. I think I gave a lot of these highlights before, but like I feel like I've talked to like a home nurse and stuff like that, and still trying to find ways to get help, but I don't really know what to do other than like a life alert or something like that. And I don't constantly need like EMS to show up. Sometimes I need someone like a home nurse to show up and like give me some lorazepam to help me get out of catatonia and like pull me out of that. But like um like what if I can't make it to my apartment? Like I need support there, and it's really scary thinking about what could happen with all that. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to talk about that because it's been something that's been making me very nervous lately. Um, and I really like know that I think that the best solution would be a pet, because sometimes I just am not able to communicate. I mean, most of the time I'm able to press a button myself or whatever. Like I'm able to do that myself. Like, but what if I need to call and they ask me questions and I'm nonverbal? Like, what do I do? How do I do that? Like, do we have a text line? Well, when I'm having these moments, if I can text, I'm texting so slow, and I can't do this like spell check thing, so it kind of comes out like gibberish, and I'm really just like I like please someone just read my mind and just know what I'm thinking, please, please. Um, and so yeah. So, I'm a little under the weather today, and just like physically. So, just something that I'm gonna keep an eye on, and then hopefully I can. I don't know. Hopefully we can figure out a solution for all of this. But thank you for watching, and I will talk to you later. Bye.